And this is Beyond Entertainment Show with PVO. This is a very special edition, and that's why I'm still wearing the same cloth. It's about games. It's about games. You have seen games. You have seen season 2. You have seen episode 1 to episode 7. 7 weeks. 7 weeks. It has cost a lot of effort. That's the movie that we shot for almost a year. We started since August last year, and we finished this year. It has taken so much effort. I want to especially thank all the cast and the crew that came along. The Lord bless you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. And of course, we have a special guest in the house, and his name is Brother Chukwudi. Oh, I am sorry. That was the role he played. His name is Goodness Adegbola. Goodness Adegbola. You know, don't mistake it. Goodness is not Chukwudi. Chukwudi is not goodness. They are different human beings. In case you have not met goodness, and it was only Chukwudi that you saw, please, for God's sake, because it is time to meet goodness so that you can differentiate between the man goodness and the brother, the stalker, Chukwudi. They are two different persons. All right, and this is Beyond Entertainment Show with PVO. Let's hear from the man, Goodness Adegbola. Who is he? Where is he coming from? What are the other things that he does apart from acting and writing books and scripts?
I feel like before there's an obsession with a man or a woman, there is first an obsession with the idea of relationships. And I think this is something that is very commonplace with my generation. We have come to idolize relationships. And relationships are great. They are good. You know, romantic relationships are beautiful in their place. But a relationship will not fix you. A relationship will not change your life, quote and unquote. It's not a man that is your destiny. It's not a woman that is your destiny. The entire counsel of God for your life is not pegged to man. It's not pegged to woman. And like I said, I believe in divine leading. I believe in, the Lord's will with regards to relationship and choosing. But no human being, can frustrate the counsel of God. The Bible says, many are the thoughts of a man's heart, the counsel of God, that shall stand. So with that understanding and assurance, if you're convinced that somebody is who God is leading you to, and you go to meet that person, and the person says, no. Have you ever heard about a case where the lady said, I know you're God's will for me. I know God has spoken to me about marrying you, but no, I don't want. Fine, you move on. Because the Lord speaking to Jeremiah used the metaphor of a potter and clay. And in that metaphor, he's the potter and we are clay. So if a pot gets broken, or if a pot says, I'm not doing it again, it doesn't leave the potter stranded. He can always make something else, right? So now, I think the problem is when people have this predestination in marriage ideology and theology, where you feel like for every one person, there's one person that you must be with, otherwise you have missed it in life. Not really. Not really. And I'm never here to preach. I've heard Pastor Lawrence always say something like, we shouldn't think about the will of God as somebody, more like a position, like an office that somebody comes to fill. And if the Lord prepares somebody to feel, okay, now see, in scriptures, he anointed Saul, he called Saul, but for one reason or the other, he rejected Saul and he anointed somebody else. He told Samuel, stop crying over Saul. And that's like literally what God is saying to somebody. Stop crying over a relationship that did not work. It's not the end of life. And stop obsessing. Stop obsessing. I feel like it also shows that a person who knows the Lord and who is actually busy with his work, a person who is preoccupied with the Lord's purpose, if all there is to your knowledge of the will of God is relationship, there's a problem. There's the will of God in ministry. There's the will of God for your life. There's the will of God in that the Lord wants all men saved. The Lord wants the world evangelized. If that is not your concern when you hear the will of God and all you think about is man, woman, there's a problem. And that's what will set you up to make poor decisions. If you actually know the Lord and you're busy with his work, I'm not saying you might not have bad relationship experiences, but it will not make you to be fixated on it. Yes, it will not make you to be fixated on it. So if somebody says no, even though there's the will of God, I believe in the will of God, but there's also the will of man. So in human relationship, there are three wills at play. There's will of God, there's will of the man, there's will of the woman. And for it to work, there must be agreement. Can two work together except they be agreed? Even if, yes. So even though the Lord wants all men saved, the truth is not all men will be saved. Some people will still reject the gospel. Some people will still perish, not because there's no provision for their salvation, but because they're not accepting it. So in the same way, even if the Lord spoke and it's true, and this person says no, no is no, kindly move on, except in cases where there is a special instruction to hold on. And the Lord will not instruct you to be a nuisance. The Lord will not instruct you to a lot of things. Okay, Pastor Nath was sharing when they invited Jamaica and his wife to Oasis. He was sharing about a sister who was fed up because this brother will not just let her be. She'll be on stage and she'll be ministering to the Lord in songs. And this brother will come and stand in front of the church and just be staring at her. And she'll be crying. And they thought that it was the glory or she was enjoying the presence of God. But she was fed up. That cannot be the Lord. We don't see the Lord strangling people. You don't accept me after I died for you. And that's Jesus that died, literally, that died for you. He doesn't come to you in the night or start making threats, simply saying that you are rejecting the Lord. You will never have a happy home. That totally contravenes everything that the love of God stands for. If you believe that you love somebody and God is leading you, then you should love the person with the love of God. And the love of God is not forceful. The love of God does not behave itself unwilling. The whole 1 Corinthians 13 list. If you are saying that God said, then you should be coming with God's kind of love. And God's kind of love is not afraid to take rejection. Have you heard anything from the Lord since the last time that we...
Yes. Okay. And my answer is no.
Why are you being so stubborn? The Lord has been speaking, but you simply refuse to listen.
Get up!
My name is Adegbola Goodness. I'm from Oyo State. I am a writer, I'm a believer, I'm a drama minister, and by profession, I'm a neuroscientist.
You are welcome to Beyond Entertainment Show with PVO. The stories behind the movies.
This is Beyond Entertainment. And this is Beyond Entertainment.
I think that the distinction between science, arts, and commerce or business is in a way limiting because a lot of times people have some of those things exist together in them. For me, for instance, I've always loved science in class. I love art in practice, but I don't think I can do arts in class. From junior secondary school, I did not like civic education. I did not like anything related to history or government. Even literature, I enjoyed it sometimes, but other times I was not really into it. So, however, I love science in class. I studied anatomy for my BSc. I enjoyed it. But in practice, I enjoy art. I love writing. And feel like you can be good at both. So even though I don't have formal education for the arts, I still learn and develop myself to be the best I can be. Sketchy about that, sister.
Chukwudi, please, you need to tell us what is going on here.
I'm lost.
You and Sister Aleheri, you're always posting a picture on your WhatsApp status with those biblical romantic captions.
Hey, God.
Baba, stop smiling and tell us what is going on.
This is interesting. Okay. I'll give you the answer that Jesus gave. Thou sayest.
So you have been with Aleheri and you have been disguising.
All these Christian brothers, they be doing things on the low.
I know.
I didn't even know.
How you know?
He said so.
You know they
So they're actually dating.
The real Agbara couple.
Let's find a name for them.
Are you serious?
Something like Chuleri.
What of Alechukwu?
What on earth is Alechuku?
For me, the way writing came to me from the onset was always, it made it show that it was something that had the hand of God on it, even though it looked ordinary. It wasn't exactly spectacular. So I was born into a Christian home. By God's grace, my parents were the ones that, brought me to knowledge of Christ, taught me the way of God, and raised me. So I got born again really early. I was saved at 4. And at the age of 8, I received the Holy Ghost baptism with the evidence of speaking in tongues. So that happened. And then I just remember that I wrote a story. But my parents said that they took it to mind because I got baptized in the Holy Ghost on a Sunday we're having a meeting inside the house, a fellowship that holds, and that was where I received the gift of the Holy Ghost. But it was that week that I just wrote a story. I wrote a story and then I showed my parents. And I remember that they kept it. They kept the sheet where I wrote the story. I still remember the title of the story. I'm not going to say because it's ridiculous. But they kept it and they kept it in their heart because I remember they said that they felt the hand of God was on it because it wasn't coincidental that it was the same week that I got baptized in the Holy Ghost that I started writing. And that was the initial stage. So thereafter, I wrote here and there. I remember one time, I'll be writing stories in class and selling to my mates. But after then, it took some time again. Then it came back to me when I was around the period when I just finished secondary school and I was in A-level school. I started seeing Christian articles, Christian stories, and it challenged something in me. And it was in that period that it was birthed again. So yeah, I feel my writing journey has always had the hand of God on it. And I'm also grateful for my parents for being sensitive enough to pick it and encourage me.
Chukwudi. How do I even say this? Okay, what am I hearing about us being in a relationship? Because I've been wondering, because did we start a relationship and I somehow missed the memo? Because rumor has it that you claim that we are an item.
Aleheri, I like a choice of words. Actually, about that, I've been meaning to talk to you. You see, the Lord will have us be together.
What?
Yes. Yes. I'm so convinced. But don't worry, you can take some time to pray, get your own convictions. Take as much time as you need. But please, don't take too much time. God bless you. The Bible people say, ability has ability, but I feel like you can still learn it. It's 2 ways. So there's talent and then there's the skill. And most times, both of them will have to play together. I feel if you have an interest, that's a good start. If you have story ideas from time to time, that's a good place to start. No matter how great the talent you're starting with is, if you don't do the work to learn, if you don't commit to learning the skill, you really wouldn't go far. And if a person is starting without talent at all, and the person put their heart to it, and they learn the work, and they do what is required, they are committed to it, they will still surpass the person that has incredible talent. So I feel like it's both ways. God puts the seed of interest, of talent in our hearts, and as great as that is, the work of God will always be a work of partnership. It will be God working with man. It will be God working with his man. So you will still have a part to play. It's not going to be entirely on God. It's not just fall into your lap. Even though there's that talent, there's that gift, you still need to build on it. You still need to build on it. I like to think of it like the assignment God gave Adam. He created the animals, okay, but he gave Adam the task of giving them names, and whatever it is Adam called the animals, that was their name. So it's like partnership. God does his part, and then he also commits something to you to do by his grace. Okay, I think it's very important to have people that you're looking up to. In fact, I feel like you start to die out, or you start to become stagnant if you don't have somebody you're looking up to, people that you want to attain to. All right. So in writing fiction, both prose and scripts, it's not just one person, there are a number of people that I look up to, and there are different things in different writers that challenge me. So for starters, it was Auntie Fegre's Dada. In fact, when I said that I rediscovered writing, it was mostly her articles, and then Mrs. Yaks, now Mrs. Yaks, Mrs. Yakubu, Lizzie. I was reading a lot of Ifegrace Dada's content off her blog then, and it just challenged something in me. That was like the igniting spark. And then along the line, I started reading Frankson Rivers. I read a lot of Frankson Rivers books at the early stage of my writing, and it really just challenged me, seeing how good her works were in terms of literature quality, in terms of scripture, in terms of theology. I could just see that this is a work that is excellent, and excellent by all standards. So it really challenged me, provoked something in me. Frank Peretti, other authors. It's not only Christian authors I read. I read Christian authors a lot, but other authors that I read, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, someone that also, her writing, the first page of Americana, the first time I read it, I read that page like 2-3 times because the literature was just beautiful. So that's something that challenged me, looking at other people. Then coming to screenplay writing, because still a little bit different. Okay, seeing the works of Okudami Mike Bamiloye, seeing the way he writes his stories challenged me. Seeing other movies and reading other scripts as well. Secular, gospel, Hollywood, seeing high quality movies, seeing the way they write their script, it challenges me, it gives my mind exposure, it gives me ideas from there, and gives me opportunity to also learn. I like to tell people that for the person that is involved in creative writing, in creating, things like movies, books are like our textbooks. So when I'm watching a movie, I do it seriously. You think I'm reading a textbook or something related to schoolwork, because those are the materials that we learn from. Aleheri.
Brother Chukwudi, are you stalking me now?
How was your class?
It seems you didn't get me the last time. Stop putting up those weird posts about me. I hate it. I hate the attention and the misleading suspicion is raised in people's hearts.
Have you prayed about our last?
Yes, I have. And my answer remains no. What is it you don't understand? Brother Chukwudi, please give me space.
All right. I feel like the creative process, even though like there's usually a pattern, but sometimes it changes from project to project. With different works, there are like different experiences for for the creative process, sometimes it comes in bits and pieces, trickles here and there. You just have an idea here, and over time it crystallizes. Other times, the story comes a little bit more formed, but most of the time, they come in a place of prayer, in a place of meditation, and then sometimes just randomly you see an everyday event and it sparks an idea in my heart. I see something somewhere and it just ignites something in me. So I feel like the creative process is different. However, when that's how I get it, is always by the inspiration of the Holy Ghost, but it can come through diverse means. That's how I get it. Now, the building of the story, the way it builds, a lot of that happens in meditation, just pondering on the plot, thinking on the story, and I do that a lot of times when I'm praying, and I'm just praying in tongues, and the story begins to form in my heart, or, I just sit or lay in bed, or I'm inside, I'm in transit, I just think on the story, think on it, incubate on it, and watch it bloom in my heart, I watch it play in my imagination, and I engage the story in my mind. I put in what ifs and what can be done differently. Just engage the story so it begins to build. A lot of the time, it will build one way in my mind, then as I'm writing, it will crystallize better. Or it will build one way in my mind, and as I'm writing, it becomes something else. But in being creative, I think one important thing is flexibility. Don't be too rigid. It's possible that you have an idea of where the story is headed, and then as you're writing, some writers say the story begins to write itself. Allow it. And for we that were Christian content creators, we believe that, it's the Holy Ghost giving things a new dimension. I remember when Uncle was talking about the latest season of Abattoir, he said that at a point, he didn't know where the story was headed. And that's something I found relatable. When you get to that point where it just feels like you don't know what's happening, and it looks like the conflict is getting larger than what you can handle, and getting it right, allow it, and then you can still take a step back, go to pray, to think on it, and it will come together nicely eventually.
Father, open Aleheri's eyes. Lord, open her eyes. Let her see your will for her. Father, let Aleheri's heart come to alignment with your counsel. Oh God. I will tell PJ later. Oh God, open her eyes. Open her eyes, Lord Jesus. About
the issue of distractions and things that threaten your faith, especially as a teenager, as a youth, right? As a youth with youthful exuberance and all. Okay, the first thing I'd like to say is that it's important to actually know God as an individual. To know God is not just enough to be going to church or you're doing this because of your parents. It's important that you actually know God and you have a functional relationship with the Lord. That's what will count when nobody else is there. That's what will hold you accountable when there is no one to be accountable to. That accountability you have to the Holy Spirit in you. Okay, and when you have that, you must also have like-minded believers that you're fellowshipping with. You have a local church where you're functioning. Those are the things that will create a system around you and will keep you, in this crooked and perverse generation. Another thing that's also important is, you see, the assignment that God puts in our hands, the ministerial tasks, the purpose will keep you from distraction. Yes, because when you are busy doing the work of the Lord, when you are busy pursuing the passions that God has put in you, it will preoccupy you such that you will not have time for, the things that are sweeping your mates away. Yes. So there is preservation in following God's plan for your life. There is preservation in following God's plan for your life. And this brings me to service here, right? So I know that camp is always very wild. Like, that's always the experience. Camp is always very wild. But I thank God for SCCF, yeah, because one thing that makes a lot of believers particularly susceptible during camp is because there's a lot of activities going on. You're waking up very early, you're sleeping very late. So it's difficult to have time to commune with the Lord. And then think about a believer not praying or studying the word for 3 weeks. There's no limit to to what you can do, really. When your personal devotional life suffers that long, you become susceptible to temptations, you know. And so just have to find a way. I remember before I went for service, I thank God for the people that God brought my way. Pastor Jedi, we spoke extensively and was encouraging me that go with your earphones, plug up to edifying songs, find time, squeeze time out to study and pray here and there. And then I thank God for NCCF because that 1 hour fellowship, 1 hour thereabout, that we have every day went a long way, to sustain. And for me, I served with NCCF at the state level. I was a state drama director. And because NCCF work is a lot, I was very busy, very preoccupied, and in the company of other believers, it was a shield. It was a shield. It will sharpen your focus. It will help you train your eyes on what you should train your eyes on and put distractions aside. So yeah, I feel like in the purpose of God, there's preservation.
Boy, oh boy, what's up? What?
Good afternoon, Tatsumike. How very kind of you to invite us over. Can we come in?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Let me get an extra plate.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, there is no extra cutlery.
It's nice. Thank you very much. This your new apartment is really nice. You can even pass your working class citizens place.
Thank you.
I think we should bless the food.
That's the food.
Father, we thank you for this divine provision. We receive you with gladness. We bless you for the hands that provided this food. And oh Lord, we pray that you shall fill us with more of you in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Start taking care of God. How have you been now?
Fine.
And how has been your relationship with the Lord?
Great.
Amazing. So, can you just share with us briefly from your quiet time? Abby, just edify us now. As our fitness with delicious physical food, you won't mind spiritual food. Abby?
You can call us Oliver Twins.
Oliver.
I read about Daniel and Goliath.
David.
What?
David and Goliath. Daniel and Goliath never met in the Bible.
Whatever.
Thank you for this.
Delicious.
You have saved us from Gary and Ranon. The lines and the film are finished, but you can still keep on going.
Talking about the issue of making money, serving the Lord, if it has to be mutually exclusive and if there's a common ground and how to manage it. I thank God for the background that He gave me, the trainings that I've received, from my parents, from Peace House. Peace House plays a huge part in my foundation, right? As a believer, I went to Calvary College and, just seeing people that are totally sold out to the work of the Lord and just depend on the Lord completely, it does something to to one's mind. It did something to my understanding. And it made me see that number one, God is dependable. Number two, the work of God deserves the whole of us. Right? So on the one hand, I believe that the believer who feels like God has called him to serve with his talent, with his gifting, should have that mind of going all out, right? Should have that mind of totally dying to the world. Okay, that's on the one hand. So, and that's primary. You must have that mindset of totally dying to the world, right? And being rid of materialism. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, it would be hypocritical to say that money is not needed. Because the truth is, even to advance the skill, to take courses, to buy books, to do quality work, the software you will use to write, to do all these things, it costs money. So there's that part too. And so there is also the aspect of, okay, how do I manage an income that will serve this gift and help me to advance the skill? Because like I said before, there's talent and then there's also skill that has to be built. And the truth is, if you're going to build skill, it will require money. It will require some form of sustenance. So now, there is no hard and fast rule. I think the place where people make mistake is they take individual consecrations and make it a general rule. There is no hard and fast rule, but the place of conviction is really important. It's important that in your serving the Lord, you are taking instructions from the Lord because He's the Lord and we follow. All right? And Scripture has made it clear you cannot serve God and mammon. You cannot serve God and mammon talks about your loyalty cannot be to God and also to material things. However, you can serve the Lord and still make money without serving mammon. As long as, they say that he that pays the piper dictates the tune. So the person that is dictating your tune is the person that has your heart. If money is telling you to stop, talking about Jesus, and you stop talking about Jesus, then it's money that is leading you. But if you're talking about Jesus and you're doing the work that the Lord has placed in your hands, and you still find a way to make money from it, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. So I believe that for every individual that the Lord calls, there's an allocation for the assignment the Lord has given you. And you just have to seek the Lord and know exactly how He will have you sustain what you're doing. Because the truth is, there's some people that have a day job and they are doing this thing on the side, but there are other people that are into it fully. And so there will have to be a means for sustenance. And like I said, God is dependable, but we must also seek to know what formula God will have you use. Yeah. When I was in school, yes, by God's grace, I was able to finish with the first class, and that's it, by God's grace. Like Paul says, I am what I am by the grace of God. But then Paul also says that the grace of God that was given to me was not given in vain. All right, so there was obviously the work that was done. So, the truth is, not everybody that studies hard is going to make a first class, and that's fine. But I just feel like the scriptural instruction is whatever it is your hand finds to do it well, do it diligently. So I just feel like putting your best into your work would make you see better results. All right. So you don't need to feel pressured to make a first class. Not everybody is going to do that, and that is fine. But if you have the potential, it's great. The truth is, the world is moving, and I'm sure we've heard the whole trope of first class students always make it in life and all of that. But if you can make a first class, do so. It will bring glory to God, and it will also, make opportunities available to you in one way or the other. So some of the things I had to do in school was I was very involved with the worship center where I was serving in school, and that was taking a lot of my time. And I had to be honest with myself. I knew that even though I'm a child of God and there's supernatural advantage, which I did enjoy, there's also a place of responsibility, and God is not a magician. So I knew that if I'm going to be this involved with church, I'll have to cut out other activities. So when I was in school, I didn't do much of writing. Aside being a screenwriter, I'm a novelist, but I didn't release my first novel until after I finished. Yeah, so I didn't do much of writing. I wasn't involved with a lot of extracurricular activities because there was already church taking a lot of my time, and my course is demanding. Like I said, I studied anatomy, so I had to figure out a way to study that worked. I did read virtually every day. I used to wake up very early. That was what worked for me. So I wake up around 1, 2, take some time to have my quiet time, and then just study. Study what we learned so far. So that was one thing that worked for me. I didn't let work pile. Yeah, because personally, some people work under pressure, but personally, if it piles, it will get me overwhelmed and, it will be counterproductive. So yeah, and then the grace and favor of God. That was how I was able to finish the first class. And so yeah, I'm currently working, and the job came by God's grace, Sha. It came by the mercy of God, right? And like I said, that's another thing. When you put in your best as a child of God and you trust God, it will, make open doors easier.
Why are you stalking me, for goodness sake?
He who watches over Israel neither sleeps nor slumbers. Do you think that also is stalking? Like I said, I'm a novelist, and currently I have 2 published novels. The first is Complete, the second is Walking the Blood-Paved Path. All right, both are available on Amazon. They're available on Okada Books. And then for those who want to get the hard copy in Nigeria, they're available on Roving Heights, right? Yeah, Roving Heights. They're on Instagram, Twitter. You can visit their website to get the book. For those in Abuja and Lagos, it's also in Ibadan, Jericho, at the book peddlers in Jericho. And yeah, you can just reach out to me if your place is not listed, and then you can work it out. But it's available. The ebook is available on Okada Books. It's also available on Amazon for people in diaspora. Yeah, and yeah. So I have 2 books for now. Currently working on the third, which by God's grace should be out before the year runs out. And by the grace of God, Walking Blood Paved Path won an award at the maiden edition of the African Christian Fiction Awards, that held in February. It won the best book in thriller category. So yeah, God is helping us, and this is your sign. Go and read my book. I'm active on Instagram, goodness.mofi. Goodness.mofi. Goodness is spelled normally OOSS.MOFI. Right? And then on Twitter, it's Adegbola Mo. Adegbola Mo. Yeah. I'm mostly playful on Twitter. So, but Instagram, I think I'm more serious on Instagram. I'm not very active on Facebook. Don't bother. So a lot of people have said when they were reading Complete, it felt like a movie. This one, that one, that one, this one. But for now, personally, not yet. It's not something that's up my sleeves in the immediate future. I don't know if God will have it happen. But for now, that's not the immediate goal. You see, when you love somebody, you keep watch over them. It's scriptural.
Bro Chukwudi,
Yes.
I'm sure you have lectures to attend. You have books to read. You have other important things to do. Please, leave me alone.
True. I have other things to do. But you are my priority. Your price is far above rubies.
Please. What's the meaning of all this? What's all this? You are becoming a nuisance. You see, all this persistence, all this stalking, is seeming like an invasion of my personal space. I don't like it.
Yeah, the journey of writing games started with the creator PVO reaching out to me, and that was how he shared the vision he had, shared the stories that he had, the idea, and from there, I don't know, there was a space between that time and when scripting started. So from then, I started praying about it, started praying, like I said, my usual process, praying, meditating, pondering. So as I was praying, first of all, I felt the Lord was actually leading me to take it, because that's very important for me. That's one of the things that determines if or not I would do something, if the Lord will have me do it. So I felt the Lord was leading me, okay, and then the Holy Spirit started bringing story to me gradually, started building in my heart, and so we started the scripting, and I'm not even going to lie. The first day of the scripting, I sat there before my laptop for like 20 minutes. I was just sweating because I did not know how to. It's one thing to have it in your head. It's another thing to find expression for it. So I was getting a lot of, I'll write 1 line, 2 lines, get stuck. Pray, think. So but it was a lot harder in the beginning. And I feel like it's like that with almost every writing project. It's harder in the beginning. And then, but once you've been able to get a flow, it starts to flow. So by God's grace, within like the space of 1 week of intense writing and doing little else, I was able to get the first draft of season 1 out, and yeah, that was worked with. Season 1 was shorter than season 2, so I sent that, and yeah, it was made into a movie to the glory of God and all. Then, at the time when I was writing season 1, I'll talk about how writing and Chukwudi, came. When I was writing season 1, I just wrote, Chukwudi's character was not a major character. He existed for IBK in season 1, and I didn't know I was going to play Chukwudi. I was just writing. So, later on, people reached out to me that, wants me to take Chukwudi and all. Now, at the time, people reached out to me to play Chukwudi, I was already thinking and praying about, what next. By the time I was even writing season 1, I had an idea of, okay, what's going to happen next. So I was already thinking, and then I was already catching ideas about Chukwudi's character becoming something different in season 2. Because the truth is, I've always wanted to tell the story of obsession in amongst believers. It's something that has been in my mind for the longest. Because I'm digressing. My parents, they were involved with student ministry, so from a very young age, I used to follow them to fellowships. In fact, that was a major part of my childhood. Ogumosho, UI, different schools, different fellowships, they would invite us, and fellowships with their different drama. A lot of stuff go on. And there was this particular time they invited my parents. They were on the panel talking about relationship and stuff. And then this guy comes forward to ask a question. And he said that his younger brother was in the first class. But since 100 level, his younger brother received a sister. And the sister said she's not doing that. She's not interested. Boy was bent on being with his sister. And the guy was narrating, and sincerely, where I was sitting, it was giving me chills, because I'm like, am I the only person feeling like this thing is likely to madness? Because the guy stopped going to class. Someone that was in the first class stopped going to class, to the point that he actually did not finish that degree because of this lady. By the time I was in 400 level, he left school. He totally lost his way. Like, I cannot even go into details, but it was obvious that there was something psychiatric going on. And then the brother himself now said that he has been waiting on God for a wife. If God doesn't answer him, we're just going to meet anybody. I'm like, what's going on? So I was waiting for, the response that the panelists to give. And then my mom responded, and she was like, that your brother's case is not God that is speaking to him. He she was trying to give soft landing to you should go for psychiatric evaluation, but she said it carefully in a way that was not offensive. And then when we're going back home, the whole conversation ensued around it, around the whole matter of obsession and the whole God setting. Make no mistake, I believe in divine leading with regards to relationship, but there's a whole excessiveness around it. So from that point, and that was a long time ago, there's always been that desire, and different stories I've heard from different people, different ladies sharing. In fact, there was this day on the set of season 1 of Games. I feel like this was one of the confirmations for me. We had an overnight shoot, and then we're just gisting on the table. Myself, Sharon, Gloria, a number of other people. People were just sharing their experiences in relationship, and I was really sleepy. I was sleeping. I was drifting in and out of sleep. In between the conversation, I was just hearing people sharing their obsession story. I'm like, yo, this is the sign. I'm going to definitely write about this. So, yeah. Now, season 2 came, and for season 2, the flow was easier. Easier, but still hard. Easier. So, I just felt the Holy Spirit was that period. I just finished writing the second book, so I was sort of burnt out. And usually, when I finish writing a major project, I'll just abandon writing for some time. But during state conference, I was in Enugu then. The Holy Spirit just told me this week start writing Games. Yeah, so I took some time to fast and pray, to seek the Lord, to just know what God will. Even though I was having ideas in my mind already, I was still trusting God. So still writing. The whole writing process took about a month. I know I wrote a treatment first. I sent it to PVO to get approval and his thoughts and what he thinks I should add all. So before the scripting proper started. Yeah, so that's it.
Dude, you told me Aleheri has not given you a response.
Pretty much. She hasn't come to alignment yet.
You know she has the right to tell you no, right?
I beg your pardon.
Yes, now. Even Jesus and his glorious gospel was rejected. So who are you?
I'm not even going to trade words with you. You are clearly ignorant of the mysteries of God.
Guy, I was embarrassed. She told me to tell my friend to leave her alone. You sounded like a pest.
She came to report me to you.
Well, yes. Please leave this sister alone. She's not the only one in the world now.
She's the one for me. God has ordained it.
Well, she doesn't think you're the one for her.
Stop!
Chukwudi, I don't know what to say again. I feel you should talk to PJ about this. This is not the Chukwudi I know. You are gradually losing yourself. You are gradually becoming a shadow of yourself. And I don't want you to lose yourself because you are trying to find a lady.
At the time when I was writing season 2, season 1 had already been shot and I played Chukwudi. But when I'm writing, I'm not thinking of anything else apart from the story. So I wasn't thinking about the fact that I'm the one that will act Chukwudi. If I was thinking about that, I would probably not write it that bad. I was just focused on the story. After the writing, I was not thinking, wait, how am I going to do all this cringe-worthy stuff? Personally, I found the whole Chukwudi character very cringe. But, is work that we've been called to. So I had to move past my own sentiments and actually try to be that guy. Even though it was cringe and everything, I started studying the script, reading it again and again, reading his lines, trying to get into his mental space, right? Trying to get into his psychology. What's his thought process? This guy, even though we that were watching it, we know that this is rubbish. This is not the Lord. But he is very convinced. He believes that it's the Lord. And this lady needs to come to alignment. So if I was going to come across convincing, I don't know if I succeeded. People will be the judge. But if I was going to come across as convincing, I have to believe it for the moment while I'm behind the camera. Believe it, when I'm Chukwudi, that this is the Lord and it will work. Yeah, so I did what I could. I don't know if I gave my best, but we did what we could. And yeah, now This is the part that I do not like. People see me on the road and calling me Chukwudi. Please. The name is Goodness. Goodness. I have a lot of names. If you're looking for variety, I have plenty names. Don't call me Chukwudi. I beg. Thank you.
Bro Chukwudi, what now?
Good afternoon to you too. Can we go somewhere to talk?
No,
When would you be free?
I am actually not busy right now. It's just that there's nothing to talk about.
Why are you being so hostile?
Because you're not respecting my boundaries.
Aleheri, you are not giving me boundaries. What you are giving me is rejection. And that hurts. You act as if I'm offensive, like I'm repulsive. Do I smell? Am I that ugly?
Are you crying?
Is it the way my hair is styled? Do you want me to cut off my beard? Is it the way I dress? What do I have to fix to become pleasing to you?
No, you are fine.
Can you please say that again?
Please, save yourself that stress. Just leave me alone. It's not even that hard.
But I love you.
And I don't. Why can't you see that all this nonsense will not make me like you? Your adamance is just too much.
I think you're just stressed from schoolwork.
Yes. You are right about one thing, Bro Chukwudi. I am stressed. But what? You are the stressor. Leave me alone.
She's just stressed. It is schoolwork. Hey, yeah. Poor Aleheri. Schoolwork can be overwhelming, Jerry.
For the sake of the story, for the sake of games, it wasn't even God speaking to Chukwudi. It was his emotions playing with him. And I feel like that was one thing I wanted to achieve, that. Because in the whole of season 1, Chukwudi was always hearing God steady, always giving accurate words of knowledge. Even in season 2, you will see him ministering to people, picking the Lord's signals. And it can actually happen with people where there's that dichotomy, where you're hearing God accurately for everything except that area where you've hardened your heart. And your own emotions have become an idol. Now, let's now say, hypothetically speaking, the Lord actually spoke to him. If the Lord actually even speaks to you, there's a way you will handle what God has said that will totally destroy it. Let's even assume that, okay, Aleheri had not yet heard God. And she said no. The respectable thing for a decent man to do is take a step back. Like, let's even forget about, the whole spiritual side to it. Let's look at it from normal human relationship. There's something called invasion of personal space. You cannot just be showing up, barraging somebody with texts and phone calls and following them everywhere because you think the Lord said. That is reason enough. See, that's even a red flag. Even if if I have a friend or a sister and this guy says the Lord said, and you've never heard the Lord yet, and he's doing like this, that's red flag. Because when you enter the relationship, it says a lot about the person. That kind of person is not somebody you will be comfortable with, in my opinion. You will not be able to breathe without them breathing down your neck and forcing their every opinion on you. So I feel like there's a way to handle things. And it is not the way you could handle things.
Fancy seeing you here.
Are we going to act like this is a coincidence?
Aleheri means grace, right?
I would like to go back to what I was doing before.
I was sick. You didn't even bother to check on me. You didn't see me in church.
I am not in the visitation unit, bro.
Have you reconsidered my proposal? Aleheri, I will wait for you. I'm convinced that your eyes will soon be open. You will come around.
I will come around. If there's anyone who is sick here, it's not me. If there's anyone that needs to awaken to reality, it is you.
What do I have to do to get through to you?
Listen, Chukwudi. This whole thing has become old and tiring. the next time you pull any of these, your nonsense stunts, I'll be forced to take a drastic step. I am not bluffing.
The darkest hour is just before dawn. Chukwudi, you can't give up now. The breakthrough is really close. Like this close.
Talking about mental health issues as a neuroscientist, the truth is mental health issues are a very wide spectrum, and they are they present in very different ways. It's usually very difficult to tell, and with every day there are new things being discovered. I mean, it was a long time before people knew there was something like postpartum depression. Now, it's not only postpartum depression that is known, there is perinatal depression where people are having, the blues, not only after they've given birth, but sometimes even while they are pregnant, and different things. The way the brain works is a whole lot to unpack. And there's also the psychological aspect to it, traumas and all. A lady said that after she gave birth, she loved her child. It wasn't like postpartum depression. She loved her child. But there were just moments when she would just feel strong hate for the child. And at a point, she came really close to killing the child. So she quickly went for counseling. She went to see a psychologist. That's somebody that was self-aware enough to notice that, okay, there's something wrong. And when she went from counseling and talk, she was able to realize that the reason why she had those episodes of strong hate for the child was because the child looked so much like her dad, and she really hated her dad for whatever he did to her. So some people are self-aware enough to know that, oh, there's something wrong. And that's really beautiful. And that's one thing that knowledge will cause. Because some people know that there's something wrong. I'm not feeling okay. But there's no explanation. There's no knowledge. There's no awareness. And there's also the whole stigma and shame around mental health issues. Because as far as people are concerned, any mental health issues is you are mad. And you are mad is synonymous to you are walking on the street naked. So you see, there's the whole stigma around it and shame. And people are not, even people that know that there's something wrong, they're not feeling okay. They're not able to come out. And then some people sincerely don't even know, because it's like a gradual slope. They're going down and they cannot point to that exact point in time where things started deteriorating. And I feel like that's where the place of friends and family paying attention to people comes in. Yeah, I know people talk about you have a child who is very outgoing and playful, and all of a sudden that child is into his shell. Pay attention, ask questions, and as believers, that's also the place of being spiritually sensitive. Because I've heard people say things like they were on the phone and they were really sounding happy, but the person on the other end of the phone could say, there's something wrong. And by the spirit, by the word of knowledge, they're able to bring them out. That's also the place of spiritual sensitivity. Also, there is also the guilt around not knowing. For instance, somebody close to you commits suicide, and you are feeling very guilty because you felt, I should have known, I should have picked it. See, you're not God. Even people that know that their friends are suicidal and they do everything they can, sometimes those people still go ahead and take their lives. It's sad, but you cannot take entire responsibility for the mental health of somebody else. You can only do what you can. You can do your best. It's a whole lot to unpack, really. So, yeah, mental health issues should be given, there should be more awareness, especially in this part of the world. There should be more awareness and there should be more empathy. Because sometimes, like I said, people are going through stuff and they cannot say because people will judge. People are like, wow, it is well. So he's mad.
For days, for months, I've been praying to God just to know God's will concerning my life. I have come to know that you have been made for me. Aleheri, will you marry?
Didn't I tell you not to do stuff like this?
You know, yesterday I was studying about the lost sheep and I was amazed by how the good shepherd did not give
Hold
up.
it, Chukwudi. First off, I am not lost. Secondly, I am not your sheep. And thirdly, you've crossed the line. I warned you. Now you forced me to take a drastic step.
Wait.
Stop there, my friend. Shebi na you no wan leave your guy pikin, abi?
No, don't be me, oh.
You want the lie, abi? No be you dey follow Aleheri like fly dey follow shit. Eh?
I mean no harm. I swear me no harm. I mean no. I swear me no.
Keep watching Beyond Entertainment Show with PVO.
Wow, and that's goodness for you. Thank you so much for sticking to this show, Beyond Entertainment Show with PVO. And please, if you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure that you do that. And like I always say, if the Lord is leading you to support this work that we do, the account details is always displayed here. Okay, thank you very much for coming along. See you as we interview another guest another time. Keep watching Beyond Entertainment Show with PVO. God bless all of you.
Modern entertainment, beyond the applause of men, we seek for something valuable, and that is the soul of man, yeah. And that is the soul of man. Men and women sold out for God, and this is beyond entertainment, and this is beyond entertainment, beyond entertainment.
Keep watching Beyond Entertainment Show with PVO.